I want you to close your eyes for a second. Imagine you are running. You've been running for days, maybe weeks. You are exhausted, your feet are bleeding, and you are terrified. But you aren't running from a person. You aren't running from a wolf.
Okay.
You are being hunted by the physical, reeking embodiment of your own guilt.
That is a heavy way to start a Tuesday.
It is, right? But stick with me. This guilt. It has a shape, it looks like a gorgon, it has snakes for hair, it's older than the gods you pray to, it smells like dried blood, and it can track you across land and sea just by the scent of the mistake you made.
You're painting quite the picture of the Furies.
Exactly, the Furies, the Erinyes. We are talking about a scenario where a man named Orestes is fleeing across the ancient world with these monsters breathing down his neck.
Literally breathing down his neck.
And today, we are going to do a deep dive into the story of that chase. We are digging into a stack of sources centered on Aeschylus' play, The Eumenides.
Which is the final act of the Oresteia trilogy.
Right.
Produced all the way back in 458 BCE. I mean, this is the bedrock of Western drama.
It's the original courtroom thriller. But here's the thing. We aren't just doing a lit crit analysis today. We aren't just looking at the meter of the poetry. We have a very specific mission for this deep dive.
Right.
We have a stack of theological critiques, biblical comparisons, and historical context here because we want to answer a specific question. How can a Christian benefit from reading the Furies?
It's a bold question.
Yeah.
I mean, why should a modern believer care about a 2,500-year-old pagan play involving matricide, ghost guilt, and a trial presided over by the goddess Athena?
Yeah.
It seems so alien.
On the surface, it seems totally irrelevant. It's polytheistic, it's violent, it's weird. But if you peel back the layers, which is what we do here, this story is actually a profound exploration of justice. It asks the hard questions. Is guilt inescapable? Can a cycle of revenge ever really end? And most importantly, how do you wash a stain that is on your soul, not just your hands?
And that is where the connection lies. The central question we are tackling is how this ancient story clarifies biblical concepts of justice and redemption. And, perhaps more interestingly, we're going to look at where the Athenian solution to sin falls short compared to the Christian understanding of grace.
We're going to see where the pagan world gets it right and where they hit a wall that only the gospel breaks through. So here's the plan. First, we unpack the plot the nightmare Orestes is living in.
The problem of Orestes.
Then we look at the big shift, where the play moves from a blood feud to a jury trial.
Then we'll get into the affirmations, where the play echoes biblical truth about conscience, and the contrasts where the theology diverges, particularly regarding who God is and how forgiveness actually works.
And finally, we'll see how these monsters, the Furies, get transformed from terrors to kindly ones. It's a wild ride. You ready to get into the mud with Orestes?
Let's step into the temple.
Okay, let's unpack the context first. To understand the Eumenides, you have to understand the family reunion from hell that preceded it, the House of Atreus.
Dysfunctional doesn't even begin to cover it. I mean, you think your family has problems at Thanksgiving. This is a lineage cursed by cannibalism, betrayal, and murder. It's a domino effect of violence.
Give us the quick recap. How did we get to Orestes running for his life?
Okay, deep breath. Agamemnon, the father, sacrifices his own daughter, Iphigenia, to get good winds to sail to Troy.
Which is just a terrible way to start a war.
Horrific. His wife, Clytemnestra, naturally is furious. She waits 10 years, and when Agamemnon comes home a war hero, she and her lover murder him in the bath.
A bath murder. Classic tragedy stuff.
Indeed. So now the son, Orestes, is stuck. He's been in exile, he comes back, and he's in an impossible position. The ancient law, the primal law, says he must avenge his father. But to avenge his father, he has to kill his mother.
It's a lose-lose situation, and this isn't just his idea. He was ordered to do this, right?
Yes, and this is critical. He was ordered by a god, by Apollo, the god of light, prophecy, and reason. Apollo tells Orestes, "Kill her. If you don't, I will punish you with horrible plagues. You owe a debt to your father." So Orestes does it. He kills Clytemnestra.
And he thinks, okay, I did what the god said. I should be good. He thinks he has divine sanction.
He hopes so. But the moment the blood hits the floor, the Furies wake up. And that is where our play begins. Orestes is at Apollo's temple in Delphi, seeking sanctuary. He is clinging to the altar, exhausted, dirty, terrified, and sleeping around him is this chorus of ancient, terrifying goddesses.
Let's talk about these Furies, because in the source text, they aren't just generic monsters. They represent something specific. The Greeks called them chthonic deities. What does that mean exactly?
Chthonic means of the earth or subterranean. In Greek religion, you had this divide. You had the Olympian gods, Zeus, Apollo, Athena, who lived up high on Mount Olympus, they represented light, sky, reason, political order, the new way.
The shiny, polished gods, the ones who looked good on a vase.
Exactly. But down below, in the dark, damp earth, you had the old gods, the chthonic powers. They were connected to fertility, yes, but also to death, decay, and blood vengeance. The Furies are older than Zeus. They are a primal, chaotic force that doesn't care about reason or politics.
They care about blood.
Specifically, kindred blood, that's their jurisdiction. If you kill a stranger, they might sleep. But if you spill the blood of your own family, especially your mother, that is a violation of the natural order so deep that the earth itself screams. That is what wakes them up.
There's a scene early in the play that I found honestly disturbing. The Furies are sleeping in the temple, which is ironic, these dirty earth monsters in the shiny temple of the sun god, and something wakes them up. It's not an alarm clock.
It's the ghost of Clytemnestra.
That is pure horror movie material. It's so chilling.
It is. She rises from the ground. She points to the wound in her throat where her son stabbed her, and she berates them. She basically says, "Look at me. I am dishonored among the dead because you are slacking off. My murderer is getting away." She's a specter of pure vengeance.
It's so visceral. She says, "In dreams you drink my guilt." She's shaming them into hunting her own son. It's like she's saying, "You work for me."
It emphasizes the inescapable nature of this curse. Clytemnestra's ghost is the embodiment of the grudge that won't die. She effectively argues that the Furies are failing in their cosmic duty. It creates this sense of suffocation. Orestes can't even rely on his mother's death to stop her. She's still coming for him.
So they wake up, and they are mad, and they start the chase. The text describes them like bloodhounds.
Yes, they don't use maps. They sniff the air. They say they can smell the drip of his mother's blood on his hands, even though he's tried to wash it off. It's a scent that follows him everywhere.
Which brings us to the binding song. This is a famous part of the play. They catch up to him, they surround him, and they sing this spell. What's happening there?
The binding song is a psychological weapon. They dance around him and chant. They aren't just threatening to kill him, they are threatening to wither him. They sing about eating his mind, drying up his marrow, draining him of joy. It represents the psychological terror of guilt.
It's like a panic attack set to music. It's the sound of your own conscience screaming at you until you go insane.
It's the sound of a mind unraveling. They claim that no god, not even Apollo, not even Zeus, can take their prey from them. They're the old law, and the old law says the doer must suffer, period. No excuses.
And this sets up the massive conflict of the first half. You have Apollo on one side and the Furies on the other. It's like a wrestling match between two different definitions of justice.
Precisely. The Furies argue for absolute liability. You did the act, you pay. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter if Apollo told you to. The act of matricide brings pollution, a stain, and that pollution must be cleansed by destruction.
And their argument is, in a way, very simple and very powerful. They're like, we protect mothers. If he gets away with this, the whole social order collapses.
Absolutely. They see themselves as the guarantors of family stability.
And Apollo, he's the one who got Orestes into this mess. What is his defense?
Apollo represents the new gods. He argues for intent, for context, for, a more nuanced view. He says, yes, he killed her, but she killed his father first. She killed the king. It was justice. He argues that the bond of marriage and kingship is more important than the bond of blood.
But here's where it gets tricky. Apollo is a god. He's powerful. But in the play, he can't stop them. He can't just snap his fingers and make them go away.
No, he can't. He admits it. He can put them to sleep for a bit. He can purify Orestes ritually with pig's blood. He can give him a head start. But he cannot dismiss the Furies. Their claim is too ancient. They have a right to be there.
That's terrifying. The god of light says, sorry, kid, this is above my pay grade.
Essentially, he says, I can't fix this here. Their power is too old. So he tells them, go to Athens. Go to the goddess Athena. She will judge this. He basically passes the buck.
Which leads us to the big shift. Orestes runs to Athens. He clings to the statue of Athena on the Acropolis, and the Furies are right there, drooling on the steps, waiting for him. Athena shows up, and instead of just blasting the monsters with a lightning bolt, she does something unexpected.
She invents the jury trial.
Which, for the audience at the time, must have been a huge aha moment. This is their own civic history being mythologized.
Oh, absolutely. This is an origin story. Aeschylus is explaining to his Athenian audience why they have the legal system they have. Athena looks at the situation. A matricide, a god arguing for him, ancient monsters arguing against him. And she says, This matter is too big for any single person to decide, and too emotional for me to decide alone.
She shows incredible wisdom. She recognizes the complexity.
She does, so she establishes the Areopagus.
The Hill of Ares.
Right, which was the real-life location of the High Court for homicide in Athens.
Yeah.
And Athena does something radical. She appoints a jury of human citizens.
This is significant. Not gods. Humans. She's empowering mortals.
Right. She is handing the responsibility of justice over to the people. This mirrors the real historical shift in Athens, from tribal vendettas where my family kills your family forever, to a legal democracy where a neutral third party decides guilt. It's the invention of due process.
So we have the first courtroom drama in history. We have the prosecution, the Furies, and the defense, Apollo. Let's look at the arguments, because some of them are, well, they are wild.
The agon, or the debate. The Furies keep it simple. They cross-examine Orestes. Did you kill your mother? He says yes, and they say, case closed. Their argument is, if you let him go, no parent is safe. Children will kill their parents whenever they want.
They're basically making the deterrence argument. We need fear to keep society in check.
Exactly. Terror is good, they say. There's a place for the awful. If you remove the consequence, you remove the order. It's a very conservative legal argument in a way.
And then Apollo stands up. And this is where modern listeners might want to throw their headphones across the room. He makes the physiological argument. Break this down for us, because it sounds completely insane to modern ears.
It does. It really does. Oh. Apollo argues that Orestes is not actually related to his mother by blood in the same way he is related to his father.
How does he even begin to justify that?
He claims the mother is just a nurse or an incubator for the seed. A stranger nurturing a stranger. The father, he argues, is the only true parent. He provides the life force, the woman just provides the soil.
Wait, hold on. The Greeks? The guys who invented geometry and philosophy didn't think women contributed genetics to a baby?
It's a mix of bad biology and political necessity. Scientifically, they didn't understand ovums. They thought the life force, the logos, came entirely from the male. But Aeschylus is using this argument for a specific rhetorical reason.
Which is
to uphold the patriarchy. In 458 BCE, Athens was a male-dominated democracy. To justify Orestes killing a woman to avenge a man, Apollo has to argue that the man is inherently more important. He literally says, I could show you a father without a mother, and points to Athena.
Because she was born from Zeus's head, no mother involved.
Exactly. He says, see, you don't need a mom to be a god. She's my proof. It's a rhetorical Hail Mary. It's a clever, if scientifically absurd, legal loophole to make the father's rights superior.
So the jury, these 12 Athenian men, listens to this. You have the screaming monsters on one side and the patriarchal pseudoscience on the other. And they vote.
And the result is the most tense moment in the play. Athena has them cast their votes into 2 urns. She counts them. And it's a tie.
A hung jury.
A literal split decision. The human citizens of Athens cannot decide. The arguments are equally weighted. The old law of blood and the new law of the state are in a deadlock.
Which is brilliant, because it shows the problem is fundamentally unsolvable by human logic alone.
Precisely. And this is where Athena steps in again. She had already announced that if there was a tie, she would cast the deciding vote. The casting vote.
And she votes to acquit.
She does.
Yeah.
But listen to her reasoning. It's not because she thinks Orestes is innocent. It's not because she buys Apollo's biology lesson entirely. She says, no mother gave me birth. I am all for the male, except in marriage. I am my father's child. She sides with the male because she identifies with the father.
So she breaks the tie based on personal bias.
Essentially, yes.
Yes.
It is a political decision. She asserts the primacy of the male line, of the Olympian order, to save the city from endless feuding.
So Orestes walks free.
He walks free, the tie goes to the defendant, he thanks Athena, and leaves.
Okay, I want to pause the story here. Orestes is off the hook, but the Furies are shaking with rage. We will get to what happens to them in a moment, but first, we need to pivot to our mission. We've seen the play. How does a Christian read this? What are the affirmations, the places where a believer nods their head and says, yes, Aeschylus, you nailed that?
Well, the first and most powerful affirmation is the depiction of guilt itself. It's just so masterfully done.
The Furies as conscience.
Exactly. Aeschylus has given a physical, terrifying form to the law written on the heart that the Apostle Paul talks about in Romans 2.15. The Bible teaches that we aren't just biological accidents, we are moral creatures. When we violate the moral law, something inside us breaks, something starts to chase us.
It's the inescapability of it that rings so true to me. Orestes tries to run. He goes to other cities. He goes to a holy temple. He performs rituals. He washes his hands. But the Furies are still there. You can't outrun your own soul.
That is the universal human experience of sin. You can change your location, you can get a new job, you can try to drown it out with noise or substances or business. But if you have deep unresolved guilt, it hunts you. It wakes you up at 3 a.m. It's always there.
It reminds me of Psalm 51, David's great confession after his sin with Bathsheba. He says, "My sin is ever before me. It's not in the past. It's right here, in his face, constantly."
Precisely. David couldn't outrun what he did to Bathsheba and Uriah. It was there, staring at him. A Christian, reading the Eumenides, sees a vivid dramatization of the reality of sin. It's not just a mistake or a lapse in judgment. It's a pursuer. It's a debt that demands payment. It's an active, malevolent force.
Okay, so that's one. The reality of guilt. What about the problem of revenge? The play seems to really grapple with the idea that blood for blood just doesn't work.
It critiques the cycle of violence perfectly. The House of Atreus curse is essentially a feud that never ends because every act of justice creates a new victim who needs justice.
It's an infinite loop of retribution.
And here's where we can connect to the Old Testament concept of lex talionis, the eye for an eye.
Right. People usually think that means get revenge. You poke my eye, I poke yours. It sounds like the Furies argument.
Exactly, but that's a misunderstanding. Historically and theologically, it was actually meant to limit vengeance. In a tribal society, if you poked my eye, I might kill your whole family. I'd escalate. Lex talionis says no. The punishment must fit the crime. Only an eye for an eye. It was an equity principle, a break on that cycle.
So it was a step away from the blood feud, not an endorsement of it.
It was a massive step. And this play dramatizes why we need a system that stops the cycle. Without a third party, without a judge, a court, we just eat each other. The play shows that private vengeance, even when it feels justified, just perpetuates chaos.
There's another Greek concept mentioned in our source stack that feels very relevant here, pathimothos.
Ah, yes. Aeschylus' signature theme. It translates to wisdom through suffering, or learning through pain. Orestes is described as being schooled in misery. He's been through the ringer.
That sounds very New Testament, like almost word for word sometimes.
It resonates deeply. Think of James 1. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Or Romans 5, where Paul says suffering produces character, and character, hope. The Greeks understood that suffering wasn't just random evil. It could be a mechanism for growth, for purification.
So Orestes isn't the same man at the end of the play that he was at the start. He has been refined by his terror. He's learned something profound about justice and mercy.
He absolutely has, and that's a fourth affirmation, really, the need for an external solution. Orestes cannot clean himself. He tries. But he needs a God. He needs a process outside of himself to resolve the guilt. He can't just think his way out of it.
So we have affirmations. Guilt is real and inescapable. Revenge is a trap. Suffering can teach us, and we need outside help. But now, let's get to the friction, the contrasts. Because as much as this play gets right about the human condition, the theological solution it offers is very, very different from Christianity.
This is the meat of the discussion. This is where the Christian reader has to step back and say, wait a minute, your answer is not my answer.
Let's start with the gods themselves. Apollo and the Furies. I mean, what kind of picture of the divine do we get here?
They aren't exactly role models. They are bickering. They are flawed. Apollo is arrogant, dismissive, and frankly, a bit of a liar. He calls the Furies hateful to the gods, these ancient beings that are part of the cosmic order. The Furies are grotesque and vindictive. It's a family squabble on a cosmic scale.
It feels like a political squabble, like two rival political parties fighting over a candidate, and they're both willing to bend the truth to win.
Exactly. Their justice is a negotiation. It's a power struggle between the old gods and the new gods, between the earth and the sky. Compare that to the Christian view of God. God is sovereign and monotheistic. His justice isn't a compromise between rival factions within himself. He doesn't have to outvote a darker version of himself.
Right. God is both light and justice. He doesn't have to split those attributes into two different deities who hate each other. In the play, you have wisdom, Athena, trying to mediate between law, the Furies, and I guess a form of grace or reason from Apollo.
Right. And in the Bible, God is all three perfectly unified in one being. His justice is an expression of his character, not a debate he's having.
That leads us to the verdict. Orestes is acquitted. But I want to drill down on how he is acquitted, because this is the biggest difference, I think.
It's the absolute core of the contrast. Yes,
Yeah.
Orestes is acquitted on a technicality, the tie vote, and a bias Athena likes men better. It was a legal solution. It is a political solution. It establishes the rule of law in Athens, but is it a moral purification?
The sources point out that guilt here is outvoted, not paid for.
That's the critical distinction. In the play, the solution to guilt is persuasion and a majority vote. Athena basically says, okay, we're going to let this slide for the greater good of the city to end this cycle of violence.
But the debt is still there, isn't it? The Furies certainly think so. They are furious because they know the bill hasn't been paid.
The Furies know the debt hasn't been paid. That's why they are so angry. In Christianity, the solution to guilt is atonement.
Explain that contract.
In the gospel, you can't just say, well, 50% of the jury thinks you're okay, so let's forget it. The moral law of God is absolute. The debt exists. So biblical justification comes through substitution. Christ absorbs the fury, if you will. He takes the curse. He pays the debt in full.
So in the Eumenides, the curse is just managed. Athena talks the Furies down, gives them a new job. She contains them.
Right. She creates a treaty. She integrates the problem. In the gospel, the curse is exhausted. It is poured out on the cross until it is empty. That is a massive difference. One is conflict resolution. The other is redemption.
It really highlights the difference between a not guilty verdict and forgiveness. Orestes gets a not guilty because the jury couldn't decide and the judge was biased. A Christian gets forgiveness because the price was paid by someone else.
Exactly. Orestes walks away thinking, phew, that was close.
Yeah.
I got off on a technicality. A Christian walks away thinking, I've been bought with a price. I am free because someone else paid my debt. The gratitude is fundamentally different.
There is another specific detail in the trial that I want to flag. It's almost a throwaway line, but it's huge. During his cross-examination, Apollo makes a statement about death. He says, once the dust has drained the blood of a man, there is no resurrection.
He is blunt about it. There is no resurrection. Anastasis is the Greek word he uses. It's definitive.
He's stating the standard Greek view, death is the end. The shades in Hades are just that, shadows.
Yes. And for a Christian reader, this jumps off the page because our entire faith hinges on the fact that Apollo is wrong.
1 Corinthians 15, if Christ has not been raised, our preaching is useless, and so is your faith. The resurrection is everything.
The play assumes death is final, so justice must happen now in this life or not at all. That raises the stakes to a panic level. Christianity asserts that death is conquered, which changes how we view justice entirely. We know that even if the earthly court fails, there is a final court where truth prevails. It gives a hope that this play simply cannot offer.
I want to circle back to the relationship between justice and mercy. In the play, these two seem to be enemies. The Furies, representing a kind of raw justice, want to kill him. Athena, representing a kind of civic mercy, wants to save him.
And they have to compromise. She has to bribe justice to get mercy to win. But in the Bible, specifically in Romans 3, we see something stunning. Paul says that in the cross, God demonstrates his justice so that he could be both just and the one who justifies those who have faith.
The fairest line from the Psalms, justice and peace kiss.
Right. At the cross, God doesn't suspend his justice to be merciful. He executes his justice on Christ so that he can be merciful to us. It's not a compromise, it's a fulfillment. Aeschylus reaches for a synthesis, but he can only get there through political maneuvering. The gospel gets there through sacrifice.
This brings us to part 5, the transformation. The verdict is in, Orestes is gone. But the Furies, they are losing their minds, they're screaming, they threaten to poison the land of Athens. Blight and sterility, they say.
They are threatening to destroy the agricultural base of the city. If they can't have blood, they will take the harvest. They will make the women barren. It's a scorched earth policy. They are crying out, justice has been trampled.
And this is where Athena shows her real power. Not with a weapon, but with persuasion. She doesn't banish them. She doesn't fight them. She offers them a job.
She does. It's a brilliant political move. She says, do not be angry. You are not defeated. You are not dishonored. She offers them a sanctuary in a cave beneath the Areopagus itself. She promises that the people of Athens will worship them as the protectors of the city.
She integrates them. She makes them part of the system.
Yes. She tells them, if you stay and bless this city with fertility and prosperity, you will be honored more than in any other land. She turns their power from a destructive, vengeful force into a protective, civic one.
And they take the deal. They are persuaded. And they change their name.
They stop being the Erinyes, the furious ones, and become the Eumenides, the kindly ones.
And the visual change is striking. The sources say they take off their black, scary robes, and the procession gives them new crimson robes.
That crimson color is significant. It symbolizes their integration into the society of the polis. They are no longer wild outcasts. They are now part of the fabric of the city. They're the fear that keeps the city honest. But now it's a healthy fear, buried deep in the foundation.
So bringing this all together, we've analyzed the story, the affirmations, and the contrasts. Now, for the listener asking, okay, this is cool history, but how does it actually benefit my walk of faith right now? Let's get practical.
I think there are three big takeaways. First, and this is huge, there's the cultural context. This play helps explain the world of the New Testament in a way few other texts can.
Give us the big example. We teased it earlier.
Acts 17. The Apostle Paul is in Athens. He's waiting for his friends, walking around, seeing all these idols. And where does the Bible say he goes to preach his big sermon to the philosophers?
The Areopagus. Mars Hill.
The very same hill. The court of the Areopagus met on that hill.
So when the Bible says Paul stood in the Areopagus, he's standing on the set of the Eumenides.
The exact same rocks. Now picture the scene. The Athenians gather there, pride themselves on this location. To them, this isn't just a hill. It's the place where Athena herself invented justice. It's the place where the Furies were tamed. They believe they have the moral high ground of the universe.
They think, we don't need your new god, Paul. We have Athena. We have the jury system. We solved the problem of guilt 500 years ago.
Exactly. And then Paul stands up and effectively subverts their entire national mythology. He says, I see you are very religious. I even found an altar to an unknown god. And then he preaches about a man appointed by God to judge the world in righteousness, a man proven by his resurrection from the dead.
He's telling them, you have a great history of human courts, but I'm telling you about the ultimate divine court, and the final verdict is coming. And he brings up resurrection, the very thing Apollo said was impossible.
He is telling them that the unknown God isn't just another deity to be placated like the Furies. He is the creator who demands repentance. Understanding the Eumenides adds so much color to that scene. You realize why some Athenians scoffed and why some were intrigued. Paul was stepping into their most sacred national story and rewriting the ending.
That's fascinating. It turns a black and white Bible page into technicolor. Okay, what about the theology of society? What's the benefit there?
Well, the play suggests that terror is necessary for a good society. The Furies argue that if people aren't afraid of punishment, they will sin. And Athena agrees to an extent. She keeps the Furies, she just moves them underground.
It sounds a bit like Romans 13.
It does. Paul writes that the government does not bear the sword in vain and is God's servant, an agent of wrath, to punish wrongdoers. Christians can reflect on the role of government here. We believe that because humans are fallen, we need laws. We need the Furies of the state, in a sense, to restrain evil.
But we also know that law doesn't change the heart. That's the key difference.
Exactly. The Furies can scare you into compliance, but they can't make you righteous. They can't make you want to be good. Only grace can do that. The Athenian solution is behavior modification through fear and social pressure. The Christian solution is heart transformation through the Holy Spirit.
And finally, there's the benefit of refining faith.
This is perhaps the most personal benefit. Reading pagan masterpieces like this forces a Christian to articulate why they believe what they believe.
It's the steel sharpens steel idea. You can't just be lazy in your faith.
Yes. When you read Aeschylus grappling so brilliantly with the problem of guilt, and you see his solution, a tie vote and a political compromise, it forces you to ask, is my solution better? Why is it better? What does the gospel offer that this doesn't?
You can't just take it for granted. You have to really understand it.
No. You realize, wow, the gospel offers a resolution to guilt that even the greatest Greek minds couldn't dream of. They could imagine a jury. They couldn't imagine a savior. They could imagine taming the Furies. They couldn't imagine cleansing the conscience.
It makes you appreciate the cross more, seeing the best the world had to offer and realizing it still falls short.
Infinitely more. It moves your faith from a vague assumption to a sharp, well-reasoned conviction.
So as we wrap up, the Eumenides is a journey from darkness to light. From the darkness of private revenge to the light of public justice.
And for the Christian, it is a mirror. It reflects our universal longing for cleansing. We all feel like Orestes, sometimes chased by our past, needing a sanctuary, stained by something we can't wash off.
But the mirror also shows the difference. Orestes found a legal sanctuary. We find a savior.
Justice wasn't just voted on, it was satisfied.
Here is a provocative final thought for you to chew on. The play ends with the Furies going underground. They are tamed, they're kindly ones, but they're still there, living in a cave beneath the city of Athens.
It suggests that human justice, even at its best, is always just a fragile lid kept over our primal nature. The chaos is still down there, waiting. It's been managed, but not eradicated.
So does that explain why human institutions, unlike the kingdom of God, ultimately remain imperfect? Is the fury always waiting to wake up again if the vote swings the other way or if we forget to honor it?
That is a question worth pondering.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.